Alright, today we are going to be installing the SL2000 Air Products and Controls Incorporated SL2000 series duct smoke detectors. This is a code requirement for all units 5 tons or higher. They must have some type of smoke detector device that will shut down the unit in the event of a fire. How this works is there is a inlet hose, as you can see. This is the inlet hose, and the airflow hits the inlet hose, goes through these holes, goes through this detector here, and then goes out the output, which is right here. And as you can see, here's the output line. So you have the inlet line and the outlet line. And if this senses smoke, it shuts off the unit, which is, here's the unit. Now the way this works is, first of all, we have a large inlet hose. As you can see, it's about 6 foot tall. Well, actually about 4.5 foot tall. But we have to cut this to size because the plenum is not 4.5 foot wide. So what we do is we make the inlet hose at least 80% of the length of the plenum area, or the duct area where we are installing this. Whenever we install this, we want to make sure that a uniform non-turbulent airflow between 100 feet per minute to 4,000 feet per minute is necessary. And must be present in the HVAC duct. To determine duct velocities, examine the engineering specifications that define the expected velocities, or use an Alinor Model 6000 AP velocity meter, which will tell you if we have 100 to 4,000 feet per minute going through the duct, which is required. We need to minimize the impact of air turbulence and stratification on performance. Duct smoke detectors should be located as far as possible downstream from any obstructions, meaning deflectors, plates, elbows, dampers, etc. In all situations, confirmation of velocity and pressure differential within specifications is required. We want to make sure that we install these duct detectors before we introduce air into the system. So if we're introducing makeup air, which is here, then we want to make sure that we install the inlet hose, you know, before the inlet air. We always want to install these upflow of air dehumidifiers, upstream of air humidifiers, and downstream of dehumidifiers. So, first thing we do is we have to cut the length on this inlet hose to 80% or more of the duct length, and I use a pair of tubing cutters to cut it to length. Now whenever you cut these, there's a little notch that has to be cut here so that it doesn't slide out. I use a pair of tin snips, and I just cut a little notch right here. So just keep that in mind. You'll need some tin snips, and you'll have to cut a notch in there. There's also this little plate right here that divides. This is what the plate looks like, and it slides in this duct detector just like so. And you have to make sure that that's in place. Now it comes with a little template so you know where to drill the screws, and you want to use 3 32 inch diameter holes. And you cut a hole here, you cut a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. And then you want to come back with a unibit, which there is the unibit right there, or a step drill. just like that. And you'll have to have the biggest one because you have to have an 1.25 inch circle. So you go where you started with the 3/32 inch screw hole, you cut through there until you have an 1.25 inch hole that goes along with this template here and here. Now whenever you install this, for us mechanical guys, we have to hook up the low voltage so that it breaks power to the unit. Now how are we going to break power to the unit? We are going to wire this up in series with the output of the transformer and the red input to the thermostat. So if we wire this in series with that, then if this goes off, it will cut power to the thermostat, therefore cutting power to all pilot duty controls which operate the system. Now this one has a series of little pins which are numbered 1 through 12 or 1 through 10, and then you have G, 220, 115, and I believe H. So it goes 1 through 10, and then G, 220, 115, and H. And then you also have 11 through 20 down here. Now we are going to use 2 wires. We're going to put 1 wire in the 6 terminal, and we'll put 1 wire in the 16 terminal. So we wire up 2 wire, 6 and 16. We poke a hole right here. There's already holes pre-cut here, here, and here, and we just have to punch that out. So we go 6 and 16, and then we run it all the way up to our controls up in the furnace, and then we wire it in series with the output of the transformer, or R, and the red wire which goes to the thermostat and powers up our thermostat. The rest is up to the fire company and the electricians. The electricians have the option of wiring it up with 115 volts or 220 volts, and the fire safety people, or the fire alarm system people, can wire this thing up so that whenever it trips off, it sends a signal to call the fire department. But our main goal as mechanical contractors is to wire this up according to the code. And what does that code say? It says that any unit of 5 tons or higher must have a smoke detector which will cut off the system in the event of a fire. And so that's what we do. Now if you have a float switch, which I have one on this one, it's a horizontal unit, and I do have a float switch, then we are going to wire this in series with the float switch as well. So we're going to have hot coming out from the transformer. It'll go into 6, come out 16, then it'll wire back up with the float switch on one end, and then on the other end of the float switch we will have the red wire going to the thermostat, powering up the thermostat. And so keep that in mind as well. If you have a float switch, it has to be in series with that float switch as well. So in the event of overflow, it'll cut off the unit. In the event of smoke, it will cut off the unit. Just keep in mind that whenever you're installing these, you also have to use a magna helix, and make sure that you meet the static pressure requirements. And I use a Dwyer magna helix, which works very good. And I believe it has to have a static pressure of, let's see, the pressure differential is a 0.01 and 1.2 inches of water column. So it has to be between that, and like I said, I use a Dwyer Magna Helix. Thanks.